Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 6 articles for you in this episode this morning, and they are all listed in the description of this video for your convenience. The first one that I have is off of Western Journalism, and it says Obama may be positioning himself for confrontation with Trump. President Trump's controversial order banning entrance for citizens of 7 countries has been rife with opposition. Former President Barack Obama and the latest critics. While not mentioning Trump by name, Obama spokesman Kevin Lewis issued a statement Monday in which Obama praised the various protests of the ban that have on the country. President Obama is heartened by the level of engagement taking place in communities around the country, Lewis said. Citizens exercising their constitutional right to assemble, organize, and have their voices heard by the is exactly what we expect to see when American values are at stake. And there's some video in this if you want to pull it up, take a look at it. It says, according to a report from Politico, the former president may be considering additional actions. However, the report suggests the former president is jumping on me. The former president wants to be selective in the battles he chooses to engage in. Any future actions by Obama will be dictated by the possible effect it could have on the Trump administration, the report said. Politico added, is concerned that a more forceful response strengthen the current administration while to be detrimental to his image and reputation. For instance, Obama has not offered any formal comments on Trump's dismissal of acting Attorney General Sally Yates to enforce the president's executive order banning travel. A little bit more, here we go. Saying, at the present, I am not convinced the executive order is lawful. Today, removed Yates from her position and replaced her with Dana Bonetti to serve President Trump in this role until Senator Sessions is confirmed. I will defend and enforce the laws of our country to ensure that our people and our nation are protected, Bonetti said. The next one that I have, Newsmax.com, and it says, Obama administration spent $9.2 billion on the UN last year. President Barack Obama administration spent $9.2 billion on the United Nations and organizations associated with it in office, according to a document on the State Department's website reported by Fox News. Summarized the administration's spending on international organizations in 2010. The amount was reported in 2010 as $7.7 billion. After that, the administration stopped providing a report on how much money it gave to the UN, that Fox News reported. The U.S. spends just under $10.5 billion on all international organizations, meaning that the UN gets 88% of that, according to Fox News. $360 million for United Nations relief for Palestinian refugees in the Near East, or the UNR, an agency that has been accused of stirring anti-Israel sentiment and aiding in Israel terror attacks. The agency has denied those claims, Fox News report said. Appear to be missing. This report was probably put together in a hurried fashion, Heritage Foundation UN expert Brett Schaefer said. President Donald Trump's administration are likely to look more closely at the numbers, as both have called for closer investigations into UN spending. A new sheriff in town, former Democratic Congressman Robert Wexler said at a Wednesday subcommittee hearing of the House Foreign Relations Committee. Noted the UNRWA at the subcommittee hearing with a 130-page report, poisoning Palestinian children, according to the UN Watch site. The report claimed that more than 40 Facebook pages contained school teachers, principals, and other employees of the UNRWA spreading anti-Semitic or terrorist messages. Said the UNRWA is part of a vast infrastructure the UN has constructed to demonize Israel, Fox News reported. The next article is off of Conservative Daily Post. It says Obama hid huge crisis with Japan, only now revealed. 6 years to fix it or face grave danger. When Dr. Chris Busby said that Fukushima disaster was the worst disaster in history of mankind, he was not being an alarmist or otherwise exaggerating. The disaster of March 11th of 2011 saw no less than 4 nuclear reactors either melt down where toxic nuclear fuel turns molten and unapproachable by man or machine. Molten fuel drools out of containment vessels, poisoning the land, and melts out where the core of the reactors explode out into the world. In this case, as far away as Tokyo. Some of the temperatures erroneously achieved hotter than the surface of the sun, something that still leaves radiation so thick and poisonous that even robots cannot handle or cannot operate in a location that needs to be tended to and closed off for 4.5 billion years. Mankind has no machine or technology, nor any in the works, that addresses how to clean up and seal up the area. It's like a small neutron star on the coast of Japan spewing radiation into the ocean, the drinking water, the air. Wildlife like birds carry radiation from the plant to the city on their wings. They die and or get into the food supply and remain radioactive and deadly within people forever once inside their bodies. There's no known way to remove such small isotopes from the body. After recent storms and other factors, the radiation spewing out of the plant is now worse than it's been at any time since the crisis first happened. Readings of 530 sieverts have been recorded, which in layman's terms is enough to kill a man. 1 sievert will sicken a man. 5 will kill half of all men in months, and 10 will kill said man in a week. Even a small safe dose will raise one's risk of cancer tenfold or more. There is no safe dosage of radiation. The questions even arising about cell phones, much less nuclear fuel, which is of a deadlier form of lifespan, are small compared to trillion becquerels that were also recorded at the plant, with a becquerel being 1 microscopic nuclear explosion per second in the body, each single one being enough to mutate a cell to cancer state. Because TEPCO, which is not bringing good things to life, was found or has found holes in pipes that suggest the toxic fuel may have eaten through them. Once, or if it's already done so, the water supply for not only Japan but much of the world will be forever tainted. This happened after bomb testing in America, where the whole of human DNA was forever altered for the worse. Sustainable. Fukushima is many, many times worse than any bomb test has ever done. And the west coast of the United States has skyrocketed since the Fukushima disaster, particularly thyroid-based cancers and among children, which soak up radiation like a sponge. Milk that deadly strontium-90 clings to like glue, and cheese have found to have been contaminated. To what degree is hard to tell, because Obama shut off the testing of food after the disaster at the behest of the bottom line. Has allowed the amount of radiation in food to reach levels that mimic Mad Max movie and are so high that no other nation allows anything even close. That's why it's okay to sell tuna and sushi with tumors on it for food consumption. Absolutely every single tuna caught in the Pacific Ocean was found to have been irradiated, and since even one speck too small to see of such radio, I'm trying to pronounce this correctly, radionuclide can kill, is any amount safe. Now that we have a sane president in the White House who wants to cut subsidies for businesses that do not produce, life may be good for those that now know the need to see nuclear power erased, shuttered forever. Subsidies exist because nuke plants cost way too much to even ensure being the sitting bombs that they are. The headlines that have said that Trump is trying to save nuclear power by making it safe, but since that is not possible, and that they exist is because government funds them, they may be on their last legs. Trump has happily taken down the ridiculous climate change jetsam from the whitehouse.gov website. Nation moves to clean coal and safer oil drilling methods. The needs for risky nuclear power should dwindle with any luck. Imagine if Trump had to do what Obama should have, and in evacuation did the right thing and warned those on America's West Coast that it is deadly to remain. If factor unit falls in Japan, which is likely, that is what he will be facing. Alex Jones and Busby have called it a possible life extinction event. Even if the global warming crowd was correct, there are doctors such as Helen Katikoff, who is nothing short of a raging leftist opposed to nuclear. She thinks that missiles are shaped like men's members, and that's why men like warfare. She thinks that a man is warming the planet, and she is all but unlistable when it comes to whining about Donald Trump. What would such a Green Party card-carrying member have to say about how nuclear power plants save the environment? Well, this doctor, who is no friend of patriotism nor nationalism, therefore we are not quoting someone who is biased to the right, she openly hates the right. A book called Nuclear is Not the Answer, that the real costs of nuclear power are prohibitive and taxpayers pick up most of them. There's not enough uranium in the world to sustain long-term nuclear power. Potential for catastrophic accident or terrorism attack far outweighs any benefit, and that it leads to global warming. If your planet is warming, nuke plants make it worse. Now that Trump is at the wheel, be the man that respects states' rights. Shuttering nuclear power plants will be easier on a state level, though still very hard. Trump will not allow the planet to be poisoned with the kinds of routine releases from power plants that lead to routine cancers, as we keep hearing about. If states lead, then we cannot blame the president for not demanding that they be shut down. It is the job of the federal government to not fund these monsters. The role of each citizen to say when enough is enough. Trump can lead us mules to the water, but he can't make us drink. That article. The next one's off of BizPac Review. Stunned Pelosi calls Bannon a white supremacist twice over the new role on Security Council. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, Trump's senior advisor Steve Bannon, of being a racist Thursday, alleging his presence on the National Security Council puts the country's safety at risk. Democrats have Democrats have been highly critical of Trump's decision to place Bannon on making the presence of the Director of National Intelligence and Chairman of Joint Chiefs optional at meetings. What's making America less safe is to have white supremacists named to the National Security Council as a permanent member, while the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Director of National Intelligence are told, "Don't call us, we'll call you," Pelosi said. "You're no longer permanent members." Republicans have defended the Bannon appointment, noting top advisors to former administration, including Karl Rove and David Axelrod, attended meetings in the past. Pelosi went on to question whether the Trump whether Trump was mentally fit to serve as president, saying she supports the idea of mental health screening requirements for those holding the office. Reportedly floated by GOP Representative Jason Chavez of Utah. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for a second. To be a mental health screening done on somebody, Pelosi ought to be the first one on the couch. Wow. Hot calls the kettle. All right. If you're going to have your hands on the nuclear codes, you probably, or we should probably know what mental state you're in, Pelosi said. I can't wait until he introduces that legislation to be able to join him for that. I think it's a very good idea. And there is some video in this if you want to pull it up and be entertained with that. The next one we have here, step up. The next one is off of Conservative Daily Post, and it says, Mole at Berkeley riot claims video evidence. George Soros organized and funded UC Berkeley riot. Has just claimed that Project Virtus, ran by right-wing activist James O'Keefe, has evidence that the UC Berkeley riot was not an organic protest like we've been told. No, the protest was in fact organized and funded by Democratic owner George Soros. In a daring post, the confirmed anonymous account claims that they have of George Soros dishing out the orders. When Trump tweeted this morning that school was about to lose the federal funding, he meant it. And now it looks as if all the evidence is there to call for much, much worse. It's got Trump tweets in here, and it says George Soros spent millions during the 2016 election cycle fighting frantically to disrupt the amazing pro-American movement that to the Oval Office, with confirmed evidence that 800,000 illegals voted in the same sanctuary cities that Soros funds and protects, and now apparently organizes large paid riots. This man is about to be wanted globally for his actions, but now it looks like America is about to get involved. Will Soros be able to escape this one? With the video evidence, it's more than likely poor ass is about to be in a world of hurt for attempting to destroy our democratic values. And there is a insert in this that has Anonymous's posts in it. File, it says George Soros JPG, and there's a bunch of links on that, and it says just a heads up, Project Virtus had an infiltrator at the UC Berkeley deep undercover with full audio video recordings. They got a lot of agitators on tape with clear strategy about how to start the riot and shut down Milo's speech. Best part, and this is the icing on the cake, there is direct evidence on the tapes of George Soros funding his operation. His son is a PhD candidate there as well and was involved behind the scenes. When the tape comes out early next week after editing, it's going to be an absolute shitstorm and probably will result in the loss of federal funding for the university. Trump didn't get out early this morning by coincidence. Brace yourselves, lads. And so there you have that. And final one in this episode is from Mashable.com. It says over 12,000 tweets are calling for Trump's assassination. Here's how the Secret Service handles it. In the 12 days since Donald Trump took the oath of office, a steady stream of social media posts have called for the new president's assassination. The posts are pretty basic, and many are jokes or sarcastic, but there are a lot of them. In a data miner search of Twitter posts since the inauguration day containing the phrase "assassinate Trump," more than 12,000 tweets came up. Secret Service, however, or even Twitter and Facebook themselves, doesn't seem to be jumping onto many of these posts. When we asked several users about their recent assassinate Trump posts, all of them said they hadn't been contacted by anyone about their posts, and they all remain up. But there have been reports of agents knocking on the doors and social media users. A Kentucky woman who tweeted, "If someone was cruel enough to assassinate MLK, will be kind enough to assassinate Trump," is currently being investigated by the Secret Service, according to the Associated Press. An Ohio man tweeted several messages about killing Trump on election night, according to NBC News. The Secret Service questioned him the next day, and he was charged with making threats then president-elect. Former U.S. Secret Service Special Agent Tim Franken, who is now a criminology and criminal justice professor of counterterrorism and cybercrimes at Arizona State University, said in a phone call Tuesday, "You have a true and genuine intent to do harm that the Secret Service is worried about. That's why one of hosts and people with no record of threatening messages tend to get passed over." He said the Secret Service is looking out for trends and consistent behavior, like the person who repeats their intent to kill the president over time. If someone has made threats in the past, they get investigated when they post another Kill Trump post. They're not going to beat down the door of everybody who makes a negative Twitter comment, Franklin said, which may be one who tweeted an offhand and not entirely serious death wish for the new president, but use certain language and specific details about the president, his location, and how the assassination will happen. The Secret Service will likely take notice. The U.S. Secret Service could not be reached for official comment and handle social media posts threatening to assassinate the sitting president. Facebook and Twitter have policies in place to take down threatening posts. As Twitter said in an email statement, the Twitter rules prohibit threats of violence, and we will suspend accounts violating that policy. Said under their credible threats policy, they remove posts showing intent to kill the president. Yet thousands of posts that use the words kill and assassinate remain up, most of them targeting the president no less. The platform up with the influx of death threats and don't seem to be upholding their own policies as strictly as they would like. That was a presidential candidate, the Secret Service was full on monitoring and investigating threats against him and Hillary Clinton. Now that Trump is president, his office is even more protected. Him and his vice president, Mike Pence, can result in fines or imprisonment for up to 5 years. Former Secret Service agents said because Trump heavily uses social media to talk about controversial executive actions and ideas on Twitter more than Barack Obama or George W. Bush were during their presidencies, at least in these first days, but that's not to say Obama and Bush didn't get their fair share of online hate. Franklin says, it's not about the person or politics of the president, but about protecting the office. We focus on the protection aspect and let others worry about politics, he said. As Franklin notes, it's an American right to be able to express those opinions, but maybe slow down on those violent rallying cries, and certainly don't let your rhetoric cross over into talk about inflicting bodily harm, killing, or even kidnapping. There's a line, and if you cross it, on your door. So that's all I have in this episode. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Let me know. Don't be afraid to make comments here. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news, and don't forget to subscribe so you stay informed.